What's happening, good people? Thank you again for joining us another Thursday on this Monday, Thursday. We appreciate you as we chop it up again with The Origin of the Others by Toni Morrison. Again, we have Nick, Martin, and Walter, and we're going to proceed and just going forth. Last week we were talking about romancing slavery in chapter 1, and as Miss Morrison kind of unpacked that a little bit about what does that mean in the characterization of the enslaved, as well what it meant for those who were the folks who were doing the enslaving. Today she comes with being or becoming a stranger, which is a very interesting take on from last week, as she's beginning to really kind of hash out what it means to be the other and how one is kind of described as the other. I'm not sure who wants to kind of kick this off, or if you have an initial point, but if anybody wants to kind of jump in, go ahead and chime in. Anyone? I guess that's a good thing, though. That must be a good thing, because if you read it like I read it, it was heavy. It was heavy. It was heavy.
Yeah.
Well, let me read this. This is one of the first things that I underline here. And she's talking about the education of the boy is complete. He has been successfully and artfully taught racism and believes that he has acquired respectability and status. Now, this is she's talking about this young boy on the train who sees a black man who is interestingly wealthier than the grandfather and the little boy, but yet the grandfather has the audacity to kind of dehumanize the black man as if they are, we see you, Tony, if they are worse or less than he is because of his melanin. And so she says this word, which I thought was brilliant, artfully taught racism and believes that he required respectability and status. And so he gets this status based on the fact that he has now learned racism. You know, I put this post up about racism now becomes this collision between power and fetish. After reading this particular statement, that's what it got. That's what it kind of said to me, as if this is a fetish more so than just folks just want to be racist. Because as we read on later, how we see it even more so when these slave owners begin to beat slaves for no reason, as Ms. Morrison says, but to just have this need to see it, and this passion, I think those are the words she used, to just be in the space while these folks are being violated.
Well, you say that, and I was thinking you was gonna read that whole ending piece. You stopped, but I also highlighted that piece on and the illusion of power through the process of inventing an other. And so, just that whole process, and I think we talked about it in the last section of Sister Outsider, about the power piece and how that's, in a sense, how they tried to control the narrative by inventing this power, so to say. And it was powerful to me that piece, because just understanding, I mean, at the core and at the base of it, that racism is taught. It's nothing that you're born with. It's not innate. It's not hereditary. It's a taught action that, I'm always reminded of just looking at kids play on a playground. They don't well, I wouldn't say they don't recognize color, but they're not concerned about color. There is no others. It's just children playing, and we enjoy playing. And it's those habits and those teachings of adults that they are exposed to, that they learn that behavior of creating this space of other. And it was real telling for Miss Morrison in painting that picture, that this idea of racism and this idea of creating this space of other is a learned behavior.
You remember when she talks about the black older black lady that she diagnosed as being dressed as a man, which was interesting, and how that was a violation to her. But in the end of that sentence, because just to kind of capture what you said, there is no other. She uses the words like there are no other, no aliens. There's just parts of us that we don't understand or we don't remember. I think those are the words that she kind of captures. I'm trying to kind of just kind of push you on this thing that there are no others, because that works for children. But what does that look like when you go to work tomorrow? No. Let me rephrase that. What does that look like 3 weeks from now when you go to work and they've let George Floyd's killer off?
Well, I think that's the space. I think that's the space
will that be an other then?
Well, that's the space we're forced to maneuver through when you have people that perpetuate this learned behavior. You would think at this space and time that learned behavior would be untaught by now. But that behavior is still being repetitively fostered into the minds of people who come with a blank mindset, and they don't understand what this is, but you deposit this toxic mindset into people who push this idea, and we're forced to maneuver in and out. Now that's hard, and I mean, I've been keeping up with, and I'm sitting in my chair and I'm wiggling because I'm like, here we go again. The system is starting to maneuver and shift and shake like it's set up to do, and we're going to end up with another issue. Well, I ain't gonna say an issue, but I think that's a hard space that we're in, and I can't give an infinitive answer of to how we fix it. I think this has been our conversation since the boys. I think the question becomes, what do or what can we do? And that's a real question we all have to sit and grapple with, because it's not a question that us four can sit here and grapple with and come with an answer. It's the question is just too vast. We can't do it.
Well, I asked this question because you said something. You said, how does one then how does one unlearn something? Because that's the key. Is do you unlearn it, or do you learn how to do it better?
Ooh.
Because Because see, I'm not clear, and I'm not clear that a person can unlearn something. They just learn how to do it better. Because the unlearning,
yeah. I will agree. Okay, I would agree that you learn to do it better.
okay. Now I may have trapped you on that unintentionally.
But I'll say it like this: we've learned through these readings how to be better. We didn't necessarily unlearn the habits we've learned. We just learned that there are better ways of thinking. There's better ways of doing and navigating space of life.
Mm-hmm. Right. That could be good or bad now. Because if I'm a racist and I can't unlearn being racist, but I can learn how to be a better racist, a better white supremacist, a better sexist. Oh, yes.
Well, I'll say this. It's not about staying in the space that you're in. You learn that there are better spaces out there. That's just
I agree. And what I'm saying, Nick, is that that's why I said it works both ways, because even it's almost as if, I don't know if you remember this conversation. I know Walter does. When we were at what's the church across the bridge with
Christ Mission?
Yeah, we was at Christ Mission that time. And Walter said to Reverend Cannon, that's like comparing a tricycle to a Lamborghini. I don't know if you remember that. We was talking about something. And he said, man, yeah, you make me remember about my tricycle. You know what I mean? That the only way that works is if the information we then present is so much better that you can't compare the two. And I'm not sure we can do that with a person that's just a blatant racist. Now, I may be wrong. That takes some stuff that's greater than me and you. That may be some supernatural stuff, because I don't care how many facts and how much stuff you lay down for a person who's a racist, white supremacist, sexist, or whatever. It is still not valid enough for them to then change their way of thinking.
I'm not concerned about the thinking as more of the act behavior, because, you know, we're able to navigate spaces to make people feel comfortable. It's when people don't even care about it. So I think there's levels to it. Like you said, it's new and improved with it. There are people that I know that I would assume that I get along with, and they could be closet racist. But it's just a blatant what's happening right now that's not palatable for me. When I say it played out on camera, when I say it played out in the courtroom on camera, that is what's disturbing. And that's why I'm kind of quiet, because I know what it is to be in a courtroom when you have to hear how your loved one died. I know what that's like to be there and to relive the last moments of your loved one life in a courtroom. And it's horrible. It's horrible. And so I don't want to say the wrong thing because I'll be speaking out of my emotions. So I'm just kind of falling back on the conversation right now.
Yeah, you was going to say something, Walter? We see you. We just can't hear you if you said something. We see your hand moving.
Oh no, I didn't say anything. Well, I was going back to your words about the you pointing out her using the word artful in the teaching, and I think that's what is. I think that's what she was getting at when she was talking about the fisherwoman, and I think that is at the heart of what we're generally talking about. It is the artfulness of the teaching, which it does make me feel a little weird to say it that way, even though Miss Morrison says it that way. it is the artfulness that makes what is horrific sound like it's not so bad. Like the defense that he didn't really, that Chauvin didn't really kill this man. I mean, our eyes can plainly see, but the artfulness of the racist says, no, he's got drugs in his system, he's got this heart condition. You know, it can't be that this white man killed this black man. That just can't. You know, racism won't let us say that. But the learning has allowed us, and the artfulness of that learning, that ingrained the almost natural, that we even talking about it as if it's a foregone conclusion, is part of the artfulness of the teaching.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
And let me even back up and say this is me even proposing that thought, because Toni even said, I rebuked Satan if the jury lets Derek Chauvin free, all hockey sticks will break out in America. And so let me even back up and say, I'm not proposing that would happen, but it was more, I want to say that it was more of a question of what does that mean for, in the midst of our discussion, because we see Miss Morrison not so much talking about Chauvin, but, as she's talking about this white, I think he was his grandfather, I believe, talking to the grandson, we see that same thing, that kind of same, as you said, this kind of artful educative speech happening to kind of make racism okay. She says this, the concept of,
but I would go even.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to go back to the fisherwoman. That's what illuminates it for me, is the fact that she understands. She made the fisherwoman. She is bought into the whole artful teaching herself, and she has made the fisherwoman a stranger, but only then to reflect on it and think on it and say, no, I'm actually simply reflecting the parts of myself that I don't want to deal with, that I don't want to embrace. And now I put that off on this woman, and I can use her, and the fact that she doesn't show back up, and she doesn't know whether the woman lied or not or whatever.
Right.
But now she can put all these negative feelings, this otherness, this strangeness on this woman, and be okay with herself, but without dealing with herself.
I see what you're saying, but I guess I never read Miss Morrison, as actually doing the artful teaching herself, even though she does admit it. I guess I was giving her some leeway to do that, and which you're right, you're correct. She does it, and she admits it. She admits it.
But I think that is the core of the issue when we talk about what can we do about it. The core of the issue is it's almost natural now. So when people say, well, why are there white churches and black churches? They don't go back to racism. They say, well, we have different music styles and we have different ways of doing this and other. And we make it, and they make it sound like, yeah, we just had, it's just a matter of taste. It's a matter of preference. That's a lie. And that's a lie that we bought based on the artful teaching that racism or that race somehow put these things in us, like put these preferences in us because I'm black, I'm supposed to like lively, shouting and jumping over benches and stuff. And if somebody's white, they're supposed to like contemplative service more. And that's why we got this division. That's a lot. That's not true. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Well, here's the part that you all you keep hitting on. She says, "For the stranger is not foreign; she is random, not alien, but remembered. It is the randomness of the encounter with our already known, although unacknowledged selves that summons a ripple of alarm." And this is, you know, if you don't have the book, you know, she talks about meeting this lady, comes to her yard, because Miss Morrison lived right by a lake. If you ever seen her real house, if you ever seen her documentary, peek that out because it shows her entire house. And I believe this is the story that either one of the stories where she says that this is a ancestor that comes to visit her. Now I could be wrong, but she does have one where she says an ancestor comes and visits her and talks with her on a regular basis. But in this particular story, she says this lady was fishing in her yard in this on this brick wall that separated her house from the neighbor's house. And she said, "Hey, why, who are you? Blase, blase." And the lady introduced herself as Mother, and then she said some name, something, Mother something. And Miss Morrison was ready to, invite the lady to tea and coffee, only to find the lady never returned. And now she felt violated because the lady never returned, which was just odd. And so when she gets down and says, "For the stranger is not foreign, she is random, not alien, but remembered." She's like, this is part of who I am. And I am, castigating this lady. So I'm really, as you've said, this kind of actively educating myself and implementing the things that I see, that the white grandfather was doing to the older middle-class black man with his grandson. And she's honest about that, real honest, which is just striking at first. And and then I think the odd thing is when she goes and asks the neighbors. Because it was interesting that she felt comfortable of asking her white neighbors about whether this lady was here or who this lady was, but she didn't have that type of animosity going over there. And we all go through similar issues, I'll say once or twice in our lives before, that we put ourselves out there. And she began to say, me continuously putting myself out there to people is how we get rid of the whole concept of the other. Then there would be no strangers. There wouldn't be this, as you said earlier, if I am continuously interacting with people, i.e. the church folk, would I be bothered then about a particular way that they hear music? I don't know. It's something that she says this on page 37. The concept of what is to be human has altered, and the word truth so needs quotation marks around it that its absence, its elusiveness is stronger than its presence. Look here. I was like, look here, the doors of the church are open. Come on in.
That's it.
Man, look here.
That's it. That's what I'm talking about.
That's a powerful sentence, man. The truth is
That's exactly what I'm talking about. The truth
needs, notice he said the truth needs quotations around it, that its absence, elusiveness is stronger than its presence.
Well, as we talked about last week, it is wherever the truth is needed, set up to handle the truth.
Say more. Say more.
Well, because we understand that if the truth is really told, one, the power structure will be dismantled, and there will be this I don't know what the right word to say, but equality would exist if truth could have the front seat of whatever, wherever. I think
we would hope that it would. Now, I'm not sure if it would. I think you make a very valid point, and that's tough. That's tough. Let me ask you: do you believe that it would? Honestly, in this here America,
you can't escape. You can't escape the truth. It's no way to wiggle around. I mean, because it's going on right now. But because it's going on, it's what our eyes are witnessing. If the truth is accepted and is published in the issue in Minnesota, there is no way you can get around that. I don't care what you present. Actually, we could be done if the truth was put forward and is accepted as the truth.
But let's go back to the boy and the boy and his grandfather, and him talking about the middle class black man coming through. The grandfather presented his truth, and it registered as a particular way of being. Notice that even the name of the chapter, being and becoming.
I wouldn't say
becoming.
Yeah. Go ahead, Walter. Go ahead.
At first, it did not register with the young man. It did not register with the boy. The grandfather had to do some more work. That's the artfulness. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Again,
you're right.
and maybe I'm not putting enough words, but that is the artfulness of it. It is the becoming. It is the turning this truth around so that it becomes unrecognizable.
Well, I think we have to be careful. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I think we have to be careful with this word, the truth, because when I think about that, I'm reminded of my grandmother. She said, to every story, there's this side, that side, and there's the truth. So the grandfather's side is his perspective. My side is my perspective. But when we deal with the truth, 9 times out of 10, there are some things that each side leave out that will come out when the truth is presented and when the truth is present. It's not. I'm not saying it is going to be comfortable for either side, but when the truth is presented, it's nothing you can do to go either. No side really wins, but at the end, both sides win because there's this commonality, there's this equality, there's this togetherness that we have all been aspiring for since we have become of age to really understand what's going on.
Let me read this last. Go ahead, Walter. Go ahead.
I hear you, but we're talking about race in these yet to be United States. Is that what we're talking about?
Absolutely.
Right? Race, nobody today, very few people, the scientists and the anthropologists who were making the argument that race was a real thing, and the legitimate ones who were making the argument that race was a real thing, 60, 70 years ago, are now saying, no, race isn't real. The myth that she and Miss Morrison talks about it, the myth of the Aryan race, that there were ever Aryans or Caucasians. The legitimate science has now caught up and said that is not real. But is race real in this country, in these yet to be United States? Indeed. You're darn right, race is real in these yet to be United States. The truth is there's no such thing as race. But the truth is race still matters, still affects our very lives. Let me go out here and act like race don't matter and see how long I last.
Because I'm gonna tell you, man, that is, as Nick, I'm I'm mumbling my words because I understand your pain. I understand what you're saying. Reverend Diana says the vision is real. And there it is. But let's go back to the last part of this.
We know the truth is there's only one human race.
Right. But listen to this last part, because I think Walter kind of summed it up. It says, Marx, the truth so needs quotation marks around it that its absence, its elusiveness is stronger than its presence.
Well, that to me, when I read that, all came to my mind is the system.
I would but let me say this. Let me rebut that with this. There is, you and I have a truth, and then a white supremacist has a truth. And that truth,
we gotta be careful with that word truth.
But here again, you can't make their truth and their reality yours in the same. And I think that is where you're having a lot of difficulty, because I understand exactly what you're saying. You're saying there's only one truth. But if I'm telling you, if we put blindfolders on, you've heard the little saying, there was these people, these three blind men, and they said, hey, they put them around the elephant, and they said, what does the elephant feel like? It feels like it has a long tail. Oh, it feels like it has a long husk. It feels like it has rough feet. Well, all of them are telling the truth, aren't they?
But see, I would go, you're talking about perspective.
And I'm talking about perspective.
Further than that. I'm going further than that. I'm going that we have and to some extent, I'm agreeing with you, Nick, that it's system, but it's more than system. It is baked in. It is integral to who we are as a nation, that these lies are taught as truth and accepted as truth. They're treated as truth. The fact that someone can say, a defense attorney has it, and again, I don't know when I want to keep going back to that, but I don't know or not, but the fact that a defense attorney can come up with this defense of he was just on drugs and he had these health conditions, and that's going to fly. It would not fly, in my opinion, with a white man. If George Floyd was white, this defense would not be what it is, because the truth of the matter is, everybody who is watching this, who is legit, knows the truth that this man stayed on this man's neck and killed him.
Truth.
But the artfulness of the system, the artfulness of the truth that they're telling, is to convince themselves. And this is where it is really artful and slick and despicable and diabolical, because I have come to believe that some people actually believe these lies that have been given to them, and they accept it as the truth and they treat it as the truth. And it is so pervasive in our society that you're right. We sound like we're crazy when we're just saying what's true.
Yeah. Reverend Diana says, well, let me read the other one. I'm sorry. She said, people will find a reason to divide. And then she said, the absence of truth has been glaring to us in the last 4 years, yet some people have refused to recognize that lack. It was intentional.
Mm-hmm. How many times has someone done something despicable? I mean, just horrible. And then said, that's not who I am.
Yeah.
And people say, you're right, that's not who you are. Now, let me go stand before a judge and say, that's not who I am. And the judge is going to say, oh, yeah, that's exactly who you are.
Right.
That's exactly what we expect of you. And he won't say it like that, but he'll say, that's exactly who you are. But someone else of a
that's exactly who you expect it to be.
No, that's exactly who I am. There's no There's no subjectivity to it. It's strictly objective. It's truth that you are a black man, you are African descent. So that is who you are. You are the stranger. You have become that stranger,
The other.
and that is what is. And again, on the flip side, the truth is right there. They said it, they did it, they're admitting it, but that's not who I am. Have mercy on me. You're right. That's not who you are. You got your whole future in front of you. Yes, you made the mistake and sexually assaulted those girls, but you are a good swimmer and you got a future in front of you. So I'm gonna let you off with 2 years probation. That's what I'm talking about when we talk about truth. We know what happened. We know the truth, but what is it going to mean in reality for us?
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. That's a sobering moment right there. What does truth mean in reality? And that gets to her point that it is exclusive. I mean, truth marks around it. I mean, truth needs quotation marks around it that its absence is stronger than its presence. I'm going to be honest with you, and this is the God honest truth. I think there is, especially for black males, I can speak for us, there is a moment where we wrestle with this question, especially if you're a Christian, where you're tempted to say, there's no way that I could be black and Christian, because that type of truth does not gel well together in these here yet to be United States of America. Because, and I see it in your face, Nick, that you saying, then how can there be truth if there really is no such thing as truth? Because we're taught that truth, there's only one type of truth, or one side to truth, or what have you. But then reality says my truth will always supersede your truth, especially in this black and white world we live in. And as black males, we understand our truth will never be greater than that of a white police officer, even with videotape. So we have videotape of this man with his knee on George Floyd's back, constantly rocking back and forth. But that is not the truth, because there are other things that are not present that we can't see. I read one comment. One lady said, well, you don't know, that man should not, Donnell Williams should not have interrupted that cop while he was doing his job, because he doesn't know the entire circumstance.
Right. And I'm with you, Nick. I am with you 100%. I'm with you.
Some folks, true, Diana said, oh, and Toni put up some prayer hands. I think we all need prayer. Diana said, some folks' truth wears blinders. And what's so sharpening and makes such an impact is that when Miss Morrison writes it, especially about the lady, the mother something, as she called her, mother something. If we think about that in comparison to what happened with George Floyd, because that's what hit me when I read it. Like, how does she read this? How do we read this in the midst of what's happening now? I mean, we've been doing it the whole time, but it doesn't read the same for me and you and Nick, me, Nick and Walter and Martin, as it may have for a 40-year-old white male, 40, 30, 50-year-old white woman I don't think that story hits the same. Because notice when she goes to ask her neighbors, they're like, no, we don't know her. And her response is, how can you not notice a black woman in this neighborhood with a crazy looking hat and shoes that don't fit? Something is wrong with that. She doesn't fit in this neighborhood. Now, when I read that, I read it as Miss Morrison says, then you really don't see me. And that's troubling because now you're going to look at me and come to my house and think I don't live here. And I'm your neighbor. And so
that's an Ahmaud Arbery situation.
Mm-hmm.
You don't belong. We never seen your kind walking through this neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't know, this thing of other just and I sat with the title for a minute. Just this becoming or being says immediately there's a division. Why do I have to become something else? Why do I have to be something else?
Oh boy.
Like I don't know, man. It's been a rough week.
Nick, you like 30 something, right?
33.
That's about that age. I think I was around the age 33, 36 when the perspective of life starts to change and it's starting to settle in. Now, this is me talking around my age. At 33 to about 36, it starts to settle in that this ain't changing. Because you had hope. You had hope that truth would actually be what we think truth is. It will bring forth this equality as you stated earlier. Because notice, I want you to pay close attention. You connected truth with instant equality. Myself and Walter never equated truth with equality. We just said, yeah, it is what it is. Because at that age from 33 to 36, that is when that is starting to register with you more so than it has previously, that I don't care how much truth that you've had and you've seen, this world, this America that we live in does not appear to be changing. Now, at least I didn't experience this type of worldly type of racism where we could see it every day. I saw it every day, but I didn't know everybody went through it like we're seeing it now. So when I was 33, I know the cats in my neighborhood were dealing with it, and folks that I went to school with was dealing with it. But now you can go on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, so forth and so on, and everybody is dealing with it. And truth just seems like, look, we should just all live chaotic lives.
Well, I think when you ask the question, how can you be a black male and be Christian? And I find myself shifting from this offensive, we can fix it, it's a way out, if we could all just come to the table and figure it out, to a place of to hell with it and let's go defensive. And if you say the wrong thing, I'm gonna bash your teeth in.
I told you.
Hold on. Let me break it. Wait a minute now. This is a turn.
It's
and I'll let Walter say his thing because I understand where he's going, which is needed. Go ahead, Walt.
Right. Well, I understand. Yeah, and I don't misunderstand me, but I think we then we lose our truth. I can't remember who it may have been, Dr. Davis or Audre Lorde. Yeah, it was Audre Lorde actually that talked about how we use the anger, how we use the truth. Okay, so we know that this is the game. The gig is rigged. We know you can't get even. You can't break. You can't win. You can't get in. You can't get out the game.
That's right.
We know that. So then what do? We hold on to our truth. We know the God who can make a way out of no way. I mean, we still singing, swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. We're still singing and saying those things that we know to be true, that got our ancestors through the lies and the things that they had to endure. We can't lose that in the face of the lies that are being told either, because then we really are lost. I mean, it's going to be hard enough, but if we start talking about we going to dash our teeth, they know how to deal with that. They're prepared for that. So that ain't going to get you nowhere.
I get you, but nothing,
Bro,
man.
Look, understand, we feel you. We've been there.
But you know what? Is really just bugging me. Like,
bro, it's not just the trial. It's
right. But
as you get older, your perception of how Black folk have been treated, it seems like that basin widens, and you start to filter more at once, and you're starting to see it because you thought you knew some things, and then when you read some stuff like this, somebody who can write well, who is a mother, and she writes, and it kind of opens you up a little bit more now, and in the midst of all the other things that you're going through, that's what happens. Because listen to this sentence right here, and you read it. Image increasingly rules the realm of shaping, sometimes becoming, often contaminating knowledge. But now, if I read the sentence, let me read it how she has it punctuated. Image increasingly rules the realm of shaping, comma, sometimes becoming, comma. And she does this intentionally. Now, understand, she's a master writer. She's a skillful person with words. So the fact that she's putting these commas in here is telling, because she wants you to slow down and pay attention to what the fact that she says the realm of shaping, sometimes becoming, not all the time, sometimes becoming, often contaminating, and then she puts the knowledge after another comment as to say this is something that kind of disrupts the whole process. Is that once the contamination starts, it's the knowledge that it starts to disrupt. And listen to the things you said earlier. Truth is connected to equality. That's knowledge. 5%ers say truth, knowledge, wisdom equals what? Understanding. Now, folks don't have to agree with the 5%ers, but that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. And once you're saying truth equals equality, if you're working every day, you're as the old folks say, you're living the best life you can before the Lord, and you don't see equality, your next response is, then guess what? I don't have to live right before the Lord, because guess what? You're treating me as if I'm not anyway. So now I must live the way that you say I am, because they already have proposed from Du Bois to West to Dr. Davis to who's the next person we read?
Audre Lorde.
Audre Lorde. All of them said the same thing. This is the way that we perceive you to be. So when you fall victim to the fact that they don't believe your truth and start responding, then guess what happens? As Walter said, now you said earlier that I believe this is a system. Yeah, it is a system, but you are now falling victim to the very system that you have tried to make yourself a other with a other against. Notice how she's plotting this stuff. Being or becoming. Notice the sentence again. Image increasingly rules the realm of shaping. So if I imagine you are this, it will then starts to impact how you're shaped, or how I shape you, or how you shape yourself. Because we all go through, but then we get to that point. It takes somebody to yank our chain and say, yo, young brother, that's not what we do.
Right.
It never fails. Even at my age, every now and then, somebody will say, hey, brother, that's not what we do. And guess what I have to do? I have to fall back.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want to disrespect them, so I fall back and I listen to them as an elder, just because that's how we do it. It's not always easy. It's not always easy. It's not easy at all, because we know what the boys did. We talk about it all the time. The boys gave us the peace sign and dipped to Ghana.
Right.
I mean,
but I think, as difficult as it is, and as sometimes it feels hopeless, but I do believe that that truth wins out. I do believe that. I gotta continue to believe that. I gotta continue to hold on to that. Otherwise, we talked about this. Otherwise, we would be crazy. Like, we would be insane. And I'm not saying that in a flippant way or making little of mental health, but people of African descent in this country have to be strong mentally, emotionally, to continue, just to get up each morning and to face the mess, to turn on the TV and see a trial going on like this. And I have refused to watch the actual videotape. I'm refusing to do it, but it's taken a lot of effort on my part to turn the station when they begin to try to show it, and even just listening to the testimony and seeing the timeline as they had placed it with what's being said and matching the images. It's enough for us all to have real issues with trauma. Just sit down and talk with my daddy and talk about what it was like for him growing up in Greenwood in '96, and to hear what he saw. Those kind of things, to know that it's real. He's not making this up. Right. This is his life. This is what he went through. And then to have other people say, well, your life can't be that bad because they see the money or the house or whatever else in the position, and to say that your life, it can't be that bad, when the truth is, I know what the truth is. I know what it means to be me. You know what it means to be you. And when we come together, this is why this is special. This is why I really miss the time we had at LTSS, not necessarily missing LTSS, but missing the time we had together at LTSS, because I knew when I walked across campus and I saw you or Brian or Martin or what's my man Nikki, the other Nikki. I mean, there's something about us connecting together. And again, I had white friends too, don't misunderstand me, but it was something about us connecting together that encouraged me, that said to me, I know what we're facing. We know what we're facing. And a lot of times we don't even have to say it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think Brian said something or has said something in the past about the whole dapping each other up when we come. And we ain't even saying nothing, but we're just the way we greet one another gives you that encouragement and gives you that hope to hold on and know, things have been wrong and bad for a long time. And we've been saying the same stuff over and over again, and it's been ignored or, belittled or diminished. But when we come together, there's power there. There's hope there, and that truth can be shared.
That's real. Well, I'm gonna end with this, man, and we'll get up out of here. she writes near the end, why should we want to close the distance when we can close the gate? I was ready for that. Hey, and that's what I'm saying right there. That's I think that is my constant wrestle every day. I don't need to know you. We don't need to be friends. I could just close the gate on you, and if it happens, it happens. But don't expect too much out of me. But I go back to what my advisor, the good Dr. Ray said. We cannot win this fight alone.
No,
There ain't
sir.
enough of us here right now. We need some help from other groups. And as much as I wanted to say, nah, I understood. So you can choose to close the gap or you can choose to close the gate. I mean, and I don't want to see y'all preaching that either. Because that'll preach. But that is a truth, man. Close the gate or close the gap. Is either one of the two. Because really, there's not a lot of gray area in there. You're either doing one or you're doing the other.
You either help me or you hurt me.
Yeah, exactly. So, man, this has been a real conversation with a bunch of real people. And I think we're seeing the evidence of what it's like to go through a trial and go through the everydayness of Black life in the midst of white supremacy. And I think it manifests today in our conversation. So we appreciate everybody for listening and tuning in with us. So as always, remember to survive, cultivate joy, and resist and stay dope. We'll see you next week. Peace.